This one is an article that was brought up by the SJWs, Washington Post, right? Is the Wall Street Journal, excuse me. Trump isn't the one dividing us by race. And it goes into it, and we talk about this all the time.
Okay.
Trump, you say Trump has a part about this, but I'm going to let Johnny read a little bit.
Sure.
Because we also have to talk about it. From the second, yet Mr. Trump rarely uses racial. Start right there.
It's entirely wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is an opinion article, and It says, yet Mr. Trump rarely uses racial categories in his speech or tweets. It is the media and Democratic leaders who routinely characterize individuals and groups by race and issue race-based denunciations of large parts of the American polity. Some examples, as race dominates the political conversation, 10 white Democratic candidates will take the stage, the Washington Post. Mr. Trump's rally audiences are overwhelmingly white. Multiple sources. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Keep going. Let's see. Your son's whiteness is what protects him from not being shot by the police.
I mean, yeah.
Kristen Gillibrand, absolutely. White candidates need to be conscious of white privilege. Oh, yeah. White supremacy manifests itself in the criminal justice, immigration, and healthcare systems. Cory Booker.
Yep.
Michael Brown was murdered by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yep.
Senator Elizabeth Warren. Whiteness is the very core of Mr. Trump's power, whereas his predecessors made their way to high office through the passive power of whiteness. Whoa.
Okay, so let's kind of get into this a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'll get into this with you.
Sam, go ahead, give us your opinions, because I really want to put this up, because I understand that, we talk about Donald Trump does a lot of race baiting. He's terrible at it, when he's just reading the names, whatnot, and he's trying to kind of like link Mexican people coming into the country to the Muriel boat ride of Cuba, like of when Castro let out his prisons, and that's the kind of coronation he's trying to make. But the argument from the Wall Street Journal and a lot of other people is that it's geopolitical the way he's talking, as opposed to the Democrats where they just pointed out white privilege, white privilege, white privilege.
You give Donald Trump too much credit for being even any ounce of intelligent.
Yeah.
He's not trying to do anything geopolitical. He's just saying whatever the fuck is on his mind. He's like fucking.
You guys,
crazy.
I wish that would be the case, and I would think that way. But the guy won the election.
Look at what he tweets.
The guy won the friggin' election
because he hired Cambridge Analytica.
No, he won. He won the election because Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate, and because the Democratic Party didn't adhere as the working class party to the people. Not because everybody is racist. Do we have a white supremacy problem? Yeah, but let me just address this article right now. The article is saying that Donald Trump never mentions race. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, he mentions it all the time, from like talking about Mexicans and all these people, and then he just diminishing them. And I think you have to look to a lot of people of color who have a completely different reaction when it comes to what Donald Trump is saying, because it affects him in a different way. Yeah. And I do think the Democratic Party largely monopolizes this, and the media, mainstream media, of course, they drive it and make it 10,000 times worse because they want that divide. They want you to see Democrat good, Republican bad. Right. And that's wrong, right? Like, I agree that the media does weaponize all of this and tokenizes people of color, black people, immigrants, without actually offering solutions. Yeah. That does not mean that there isn't a racial issue here, that what Cory Booker said, and I can't stand Cory Booker, that being black does get you killed. I mean, in this country and by law enforcement, that is a fact. Is the problem just white supremacy? No. We cannot ignore the economic issues that have plagued this country for decades. All of this is happening now because of decades that we haven't dealt with the neoliberal policies and the neocon type of policies since before our time, that have finally come to a summit and now are all just falling apart. Yeah. But to dismiss that race is an issue isn't it either. I despise identity politics. Yeah. I absolutely despise it. Absolutely. That does not mean that we don't have white supremacy, that we don't have race issues, that unfortunately it is a small segment of these loud, vociferous people, but it is definitely there, and to ignore it is to not be an ally to progress.
Let me say this much. I don't think it's being ignored. I think the fact that it's being put front and center over everything is the problem in itself. And listen, guys, Donald Trump got more people of color votes than John McCain and Mitt Romney. He got more Latino votes than John McCain and Mitt Romney.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's something of a thought process to think there about the way he goes about things. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, of course they are there, but the Democratic Party has always done it for a long time now. The fact on going after him instead of on policy, because they support him on policy, they use the identity politics to weaponize stuff. And here's the problem with that. You only get people with inside your bubble.
Right.
You only get your people with inside your bubble. Whether we like it or not, when we talk about Donald Trump getting those extra people of color votes, those extra Latino votes, he's found a way to seep out a little bit and grab a couple of people those in. We're running off independents and people, poor white people in this country are being run off and just not even looking at the Democratic Party because they're being told you're privileged for something that you were born with. Meanwhile, they're making hamburger helper and they're a month behind on their rent and they're never going to be able to send their kids to college as well. I've always said the most important thing to do is to recognize that poor people together, people of color, white people, we have a lot more in common than the elites above who are running things because it's all about the monetary system and who's going to be a slave and who's not going to be a slave.
Absolutely, but in an effort to do that, you cannot seem to brush off the people's experiences.
Yes.
It's both. Like obviously the economic issues are what again like drove a lot of these people who might have been Democratic, especially in the Rust Belt, in Middle America, in the South, to vote for Donald Trump. I 100% agree with that because the Democratic Party failed and they've realized the Democratic Party are a bunch of hypocrites who don't actually do things for you. And I've realized that. A lot of us have realized. A lot of people of color have realized that. That's why they're not just going to vote for Kamala Harris because they know she's a fraud. However, that doesn't mean that race doesn't play an issue into it, and we don't lead with identity politics. We never should lead with it. We shouldn't say, I want to vote for Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren because they're a woman, because it's time for a woman.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't say that Donald Trump isn't making it more comfortable for a small group of people to feel like that they can feel this way about race and that they can blame immigrants. Ultimately, their anger is misplaced because obviously immigrants aren't taking jobs. I don't know who wants to dig holes on the dirt and who wants to sit out in the sun, but I can tell you most people I know wouldn't want to do that. Yeah. And that's not who's taking their jobs. We have to direct the attention to economics. The fact that this is a class warfare that's going on right now. But in order to have those people on our side, we have to listen to what they're saying and address their concerns. Otherwise, we're never going to get one way or the other. I disagree with the people who put race over everything, who say, we need to just look into identity politics and that's it. But I also disagree with the people that completely ignore it, and I think it is in a way to be able to ignore it is privileged, and I don't even like using that word, but it is because you don't have to worry about it. You've never dealt with it. So
the whole thing is, and I think you've hit it right on the nose, and I think we should get on to the next subject because you got to go to work, but really, to tell you the truth, you hit it on the nose because you said it a lot of times. Don't put it front and center. But that's the problem. All the Democrats do is put it front and center. Elizabeth Warren did the dumbest thing in the world by telling America that she wasn't going to go on Fox. She pretty much said that anybody who watches Fox is a racist, is not worth talking to. And that's where we don't need to be. And the Wall Street Journal kind of pointed it out well right here. They just lead with it. You know what I'm saying? Notice that within those people, those candidates, Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders weren't mentioned. You know what I'm saying? And Bernie Sanders sometimes, I think, is by that group is kind of being forced to be a little bit more sometimes than anything else. My boss said to me, we were talking, he's like, listen, I like Bernie. I'm not going to hate on him. But when he said yesterday that picking his vice president candidate, it's going to be someone who doesn't look like him, probably a woman of color or whatever, he goes, that was a turnoff to him. Because no matter what, he felt that it should be the best human for that job. And that was just kind of one little area. And
but if Bernie Sanders doesn't do that, then he's a racist misogynist, and he's already been criticized for it.
Bernie's done a great job of just,
according to the far left. According to the far left.
According to that small group of people. And that's the one thing I think we have to keep our eye on is that, yes, that small group of people has a valid argument. But once again, it can't be the biggest argument, because if we take that argument as the biggest, we'll miss all those people in the middle that we won't get those votes. Because I'm not taking this personally, fam. I'm taking this theoretically and objectively, and also what's the word I'm looking like, strategically, because I want to win. And if we do get a fair election, we can't push everybody away from things they were just born with. Yes, we have to understand with our past, so we understand the mechanisms going forward. But this is an argument that will go on, or a discussion that will go on, and that's why you're my partner, because you're, I think, a good right in the middle right there.